The flames danced behind her like demons in the dark, and she was barely conscious, pinned under a collapsed beam. Her uniform was scorched, her helmet cracked. He didn't even think, just ran into the smoke, barefoot, with his 7-year-old son screaming from the sidewalk. She didn't know his name. He didn't know hers. But what happened after he pulled her out would not only expose a secret that would shake his world, but give him a second chance at life he never saw coming. Let's begin. The explosion rattled the cracked window panes of Eli Carson's rundown trailer just outside Jackson, Tennessee. He had barely gotten his son, Noah, to sleep on their lumpy second-hand couch when the siren started. Another fire. He groaned, rubbing his face, thinking it was probably the old gas station on Route 4 again, until Noah jolted awake and pointed outside. "Dad, that house across the woods, it's on fire." Eli didn't hesitate. He didn't grab shoes. He didn't grab his wallet. Just his kid. They sprinted across the frozen dirt path that led through the thin line of trees toward the Buckner property, an old Victorian-style farmhouse that had been abandoned for years, except it wasn't empty tonight. Flames roared through the roof, coughing black smoke into the early winter night sky. And then he saw it. A fire engine had crashed against a tree nearby, the windshield spiderwebbed with glass and steam pouring from the hood. A single figure lay slumped halfway out of the cab, the rest of the crew nowhere in sight. "Call 911, Eli barked to Noah, shoving his cracked flip phone into the boy's shaking hands. "Don't move from this spot." Then he ran. She was breathing, barely. Her face was streaked with soot, her pulse erratic. Her helmet had rolled a few feet away. Her leg was pinned beneath a burning support beam. "Hey," he said, coughing, kneeling beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" The woman blinked. "H, help me. Trapped." "I got you," Eli whispered. "I got you." The heat was unbearable. His arms screamed with pain as he lifted the smoking beam, just high enough to slide her out. Her body went limp in his arms, and she let out a sob that didn't sound like pain. It sounded like surrender. But Eli didn't let her go. He carried her out of the flames as the entire roof collapsed behind them. The paramedics came 15 minutes later. They tried to take her right away, but the firefighter woman wouldn't let go of Eli's wrist. "Stay, please," she whispered hoarsely, eyes half closed. "I'll be there," he promised, unsure why he meant it so deeply. He didn't even know her name. That night, while Noah slept on a mattress near the heater, Eli stared at the firelight flickering through the blinds. The woman's face haunted him, the strength in her eyes, the way she had clutched his wrist like it was the last anchor she had. He'd been the one who needed saving for years now, and somehow, helping her made him feel human again. Eli sat in the hospital waiting room the next morning, fingers calloused and blackened from smoke. He hadn't planned to come. He'd barely slept, but something about her wouldn't let him stay away. She'd been rushed into surgery the night before, and no one gave him details. Only that she was alive, stable, and her name was Morgan. No last name offered. No family had shown up. No fellow firefighters. Just nurses who looked at Eli like he didn't belong. And maybe he didn't. He was a broke single dad with 2 jobs, a half-dead car, and barely enough in his fridge to scrape together sandwiches. But when Morgan had grabbed his wrist in the smoke, something cracked open in him. He'd felt important. Needed. "Eli Carson," a voice said. He turned. A nurse with tired eyes and a clipboard gestured. "She's awake. She asked for you." Eli stood slowly. "She asked for me." The nurse nodded, surprised. "Yeah. Said if we didn't bring in the guy who carried me out, she'd walk out herself." And frankly, I believe her. He followed her down the hallway, heart pounding, hands suddenly clammy. Morgan was lying in the hospital bed, her left arm in a sling, oxygen tubes in her nose, bandages across her temple. But her eyes were clear. Fierce. "Ew," she rasped, managing a tired smile. "You really came." Eli stepped in slowly. "Yeah, I just wanted to check in. Make sure you're okay." "I owe you my life," she said. "You pulled me out of house fire with your bare hands. That's not just okay. That's heroic." Eli gave a shy laugh and rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm not a hero. Just didn't think twice. My son was watching. Couldn't let him think we just leave people." Morgan's smile softened. "You teach him that with your actions, not your words. That's rare." They looked at each other for a long beat. "So who are you?" Eli asked finally. She hesitated. I'm Morgan Reyes. Station 19. Captain, actually. Or, I was. Her voice wavered slightly. They're probably going to reassign me after this. If I'm lucky. Eli sat down beside her bed. Well, Captain Reyes, for what it's worth. I'm Eli. I fix water heaters by day and wait tables by night. I sleep on a busted mattress with my kid, and we live off coupons. He expected her to flinch, to pity him. She didn't. Instead, Morgan said quietly, "You sound like the strongest person I've met all year." That afternoon, Eli came home to Noah drawing stick figures of man pulling someone out of a burning house. His son handed it to him with a big grin. "You're like a superhero, Dad." Eli stared at the drawing. The smoke, the cape Noah had drawn around his shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, he could start believing it. 3 days passed. Morgan insisted Eli visit again, and again he showed up, every time with something: coffee, a paper flower Noah had made, a worn-out book she said she liked once. He didn't know why he was doing it. Maybe because someone finally looked at him like he mattered. Maybe because she didn't flinch at his calloused hands or flinch when he said he hadn't gone to college. She just listened, and she gave him something no one had in years: her full attention. But on the 4th visit, everything changed. Morgan's room was empty. Eli stood in the hallway, confused, until a nurse quietly pulled him aside. "She checked herself out this morning," she said. Didn't say where she was going. His chest tightened. "But she's still healing." The nurse nodded. "Told us she had something urgent to take care of. Left a note, though." She handed it to him. It was a folded piece of hospital paper. Inside was Morgan's clean, sharp handwriting. "Eli, thank you for everything. I wish I had more time to explain, but I've got something I need to make right before it's too late. You said once that helping me made you feel human again. Well, you saved me in more ways than one. Stay safe. And tell Noah his superhero's not finished yet." Morgan. Eli stood there, crushed by the quiet finality of it. But what he didn't know, what no one did, was that Morgan Reyes wasn't just any firefighter. She was the key witness in a federal arson investigation. That night, after Noah went to bed, Eli sat at the kitchen table, the note spread in front of him, hands trembling. He didn't know what he was supposed to do. He didn't have money. He didn't have connections. But what he had was instinct. And that instinct told him Morgan hadn't left because she wanted to disappear. She left because someone was chasing her. The next morning, he was at the public library searching her name. There were old headlines, heroic saves, commendations, citywide praise. But there was also a more recent article buried in the archives: "Captain suspended pending investigation." The headline didn't match the woman he knew. Something wasn't right. 2 weeks passed. Then, one rainy evening as Eli was leaving the diner, soaked and tired, a black SUV pulled up behind him, the window lowered. Morgan was in the passenger seat, but she didn't look like the woman from the hospital anymore. Her hair was tied up. Her jacket was stiff and clean. Her face was tense, pale. And next to her sat a man in a dark suit with a badge tucked into his lapel. "You need to get in," she said quickly. "Please, Eli. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." Eli blinked. "Morgan, what's going on?" The agent spoke up. "Mr. Carson, she saved your life once. Now we need your help to save hers." Eli slid into the back seat, soaked to the bone, heart pounding. Morgan looked over her shoulder at him, eyes locked on his. "Before you say no," she whispered, "just hear me out." The agent in the front seat, Agent Nolan, glanced at her, then at Eli through the rearview mirror. "She trusted the wrong man," he said bluntly. A city official she was in a relationship with, someone she thought was clean. Turns out he was laundering money through development deals and torching properties to collect insurance, including that house. Eli froze. "The Buckner property?" Morgan nodded tightly. "It was supposed to be empty. He didn't know I was responding early, on my day off. He was trying to silence me, and he almost did. So the crash wasn't an accident." Eli realized slowly. "No," she said. "The brakes were tampered with. I was supposed to die in that fire." Silence filled the car. Morgan finally broke it. "But I didn't. Because you dragged me out of that hell." Eli looked from her to the agent, then back again. "So what now?" Agent Nolan turned slightly. "Now we bait him. Make him think he won. Then when he tries to tie up loose ends, we tie the knot first." Morgan added, "But I need someone I trust to watch my back. Someone who doesn't wear a badge. Someone who's not on his radar. And that's me." Eli said. You saved me when no one else was coming. That's all the proof I need. By midnight, Eli was standing in the middle of a staged, half-renovated property on the outskirts of town, a concealed mic taped to his chest, an earpiece buzzing in his ear. Morgan was inside with the man, Brandon Keene, deputy fire commissioner. Her ex. Eli could barely hear them, but when Keene's voice rose and Morgan flinched, he started toward the door. Then everything happened at once. Keene shoved Morgan. She struck her head on the doorframe. Eli charged in, fists clenched, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel helpless. He grabbed Keene by the collar and slammed him into the wall. You touched the wrong woman, he growled. Outside, agents flooded the scene. It was over in 10 seconds. But something much bigger had begun. 2 weeks later, Morgan sat on Eli's back porch, sipping cold coffee in her now-signed discharge papers. You ever think you were born for something bigger? She asked quietly. Eli chuckled. I fix people's water heaters. She looked at him seriously. You fix me. You gave me a reason to keep going. He looked down at his scarred hands, then up at her. You gave me one, too. She leaned over, brushing her fingers against his. You think there's still room in your world for someone like me? Eli smiled. You already live in it. Spring settled over Tennessee like a warm blanket. The sky softened. Trees bloomed again. But in Eli's world, the biggest change wasn't in the weather. It was in the way he looked at himself in the mirror. The man staring back at him wasn't the hollow-eyed mechanic barely scraping by. He was someone who had run into fire without hesitation. Someone who'd faced a corrupt city official, stood between danger and the woman who saved him back. Someone who'd finally remembered what it meant to matter. Morgan moved in slowly. First, it was just her duffel bag and a box of books. Then her cat. Then, one rainy afternoon, she brought a tiny potted cactus and placed it next to Noah's framed drawing of Superdad. That was the moment Eli knew she wasn't going anywhere. And he didn't want her to. One evening, while Morgan and Noah were building a birdhouse on the porch, Eli stood inside fixing the leaking sink. A familiar chore, but his heart felt different. He wasn't fixing things out of desperation anymore. He was building something. A home. A life. But the past wasn't done with him yet. Brandon Keene had made bail. And even though federal charges were pending, he'd used a media interview to cast doubt on Morgan's name, calling her an unstable ex with a vendetta. Eli saw the news clip and turned it off before Noah could hear. Morgan didn't say much. She just stared at the wall that night, silent. You okay? Eli asked. She nodded, but her jaw was tight. I need to clear my name, she said eventually. Not just legally. I need the people who used to look up to me to know I didn't burn. Eli nodded. Then we'll do it. She turned to him, surprised. We. He leaned in, voice steady. You stood with me in a fire. I'll stand with you in the fallout. Together, they set up a live video online. Morgan calmly explaining the truth, backed with evidence the FBI had declassified, and Eli beside her, vouching not as a cop, not as a lawyer, but as a man who saw the good in her when she couldn't speak for herself. It went viral. People rallied. The department issued a public apology. Morgan's badge was returned, but she didn't go back. Instead, she started a small crisis outreach center with Eli, a place for kids from broken homes, for firefighters battling trauma, for single parents juggling 2 lives with no help. They called it Second Flame. One afternoon, Noah burst into the office holding a flyer. Dad, Ms. Morgan, they want to give you both an award. For bravery. Morgan raised a brow. Us? Eli grinned. Well, you did save me from a burning building. She elbowed him lightly. And you pulled me out of the fire. He looked at her. No, he said softly. You pulled me out of mine. That night, Morgan curled up beside him on the porch swing, fingers tangled with his. The stars shimmered above. Crickets sang. Do you ever regret it? She whispered. Regret what? Running into that fire. He turned to her, brushing her hair behind her ear. Not for a second, because that's where I found the woman who saved my life, before she even said a word.